didn't do this. We did.
What's up, everybody? And today we are talking about I Am Legend. I'm doing full spoilers. I mean, this is an old movie, so if you haven't seen it, go watch the movie and come back, unless you don't care. So last night I was playing this game called Neva, where you are like this female warrior and you have a dog companion. And for whatever reason, I was like, oh, I feel like watching a movie, and it reminded me of I Am Legend because I remember he had his dog companion. Now, so I watched this movie. I haven't seen this movie since, I don't know. I think I watched it like one other time since it came out, maybe two other times. But it's been like a decade plus since I've seen this movie. And this movie still hits. Like, this movie's so good. I forgot how good this movie is. The only thing I would really say that's negative about it, as like, I guess the big negative, is that just the CG doesn't hold up. But I remember the CG being weird even back then. But yeah, the infected look like, PS3 characters. But other than that, I think this movie is just absolutely awesome. And I have so much to say about it. So yeah, let's just hop right into it. I wanted to actually start with the flashback. We get it in pieces, but it didn't really... I think the whole part of it is that it served more of just like, he can't let, this trauma go of seeing his family die. And I mean, how could you? It happened in a tragic accident where so many things are going down. But if it's been a while for you, basically, there's a news broadcast. They found a cure for cancer.
How many people have you treated so far?
Well, we've had 10,009 clinical trials in humans so far.
And how many are cancer-free?
10,009.
So you have actually cured cancer?
Yes, we have.
It's curing cancer. Everything's going great. Psych, it's doing awful. People are dying. And if they're not dying, they're turning it into these infected people running around attacking everything they see. And so naturally, everything's going crazy. This takes place in New York. They're like, we're going to close off all the bridges. We're locking down Manhattan. If you don't get out, you're basically screwed. Our main character, Robert, played by Will Smith, is like, all right, well, I got to get my family out of here. And he's also like a U.S. Marshal, so, high ranking. They're like, all right, let's go, sir. So you get to, the bridge. Everyone's trying to escape. And I think what I really love about the flashback, and the reason I want to talk about it, is just like the way it's so good at expressing just the chaos of like an apocalyptic event of just like everyone scrambling to try to get to the helicopters, just get to the other side of the island, because the only way is through the bridges, which are locked down right now. And you have this tragic moment of this lady who's clearly infected. She's bleeding out of her nose and her eyes, and she's like, please just take my daughter, she's not infected, like, please. And then they won't do it. And even Will Smith's little daughter is just like, daddy, why can't the lady come with us or whatever, because she doesn't understand what's going on. She's only like, I don't know, she's like 3 or 4. And you think, okay, cool, whatever, family's gonna get out of there. And then you get this high tension of like, they're scanning everyone to let them, like, all right, either you're good or you're not. And so they scan everyone, and Will Smith's wife is like, she gets the negative, and they're like, all right, take her over there with the other people. And he's like, wait.
No good.
What? No. Robert.
Get your hands off my wife. Get your hands off.
This tension going, and they got the guns up. Even though he's a marshal, they're like ready to shoot him, like, sir, like, we'll take you down right now. And he's like, he has to pull rank, and even then, it's like everyone's still kind of looking at each other like, we will pop off right now. And then he's like, scan her one more time. And they scan her one more time, and she's good. And it's like, okay. So we get to the helicopter, right? Family gotta go. He wants to stay there because, and this is another flaw of the movie, is it's never really clear of why, or his involvement in the whole thing, because when you see the news broadcast, it is some other lady. I forget the actress's name. But it is kind of this figure of this other lady. So for him to be like, no, this is my problem, I have to solve it, it's like, it should have been him on the TV screen. So that was a little weird. But he's like, I gotta stay here and solve this. Family goes in the helicopter, but things are popping off. So the military sends in the jets, right? They blow up the bridges. that's the end of the final flashback. And what I love is just like the chaos of everything that's going on, from the people trying to get on, like just trying to get to the front of the line, to the bridges exploding, to them charging the helicopter. The fact that we don't see the helicopter go down with his family, it is just implied that like that's how it ended. And they're just like the subtlety of just like, we're leaving it for you to understand like how the rest of that scene played out, but like you get that, you know, they didn't make it. And I think so many movies now are so like heavy-handed, and everyone keeps bringing up the quote from some of the Netflix executives that were just like, oh yeah, people aren't watching movies or TV shows, they're like on their phone. So everything needs to be, you know, like talking to, you know, like a little kid, we gotta over explain everything. I mean, this movie just like is like, no, there's so much subtlety to this movie that I love. But yeah, let's keep on talking about it, right? So speaking on what I was just saying, we get the opening of the movie. He's riding around in a Mustang. It's been 3 years. He's all by himself. It is just desolate. It is him and Sammy, his dog, or Sam, and they're like chasing down deer. And he's like, you know, driving the Mustang. He got like a assault rifle on his side. And one moment I love is that he like veers off into a kind of walkway, but it is like the whole building is covered in plastic. So he just goes through and then like pops out, and it's a quick scene, like you won't even think about it. But I thought about the fact that like he knows the route so much that he just knows that he can drive through this walkway that's again covered, so you can't even see that. Just that subtle moment implies that like he's been doing this for a while. And that's what I mean by this, like this subtlety of like visual storytelling that we wouldn't get nowadays. And I'm not saying that like every movie is bad or whatever. I'm just saying that like there's definitely a visual art that when you go back and watch some old movies that is just there, that like it's just some things we just don't do nowadays. And I feel like for most media, it's just like, yeah, we got to tell you what's going on. We really got to like overhand and, you know, show you what's going on. But that being said, one thing I was a little worried about was Robert is a kind of jack of all trades. You know, he's a military man. He works out. He's super buff, even though it's the apocalypse. His house is stocked full of food. He has a bunch of generators. He's a scientist. He got a lab in his basement. He got guns. Like he does it all. And I was like, oh man, is this gonna suck? Like, why is he so good at everything? But what I was so surprised by in this movie is that even though he has all these unimaginable skills, and in the apocalypse, come on, he is absolutely terrified of the Dark Seekers, the infected. You know, you get that first night, I don't think you even see them yet. It's just him and Sammy. You know, his watch goes off. That's how he knows, like, oh, it's dark time. I gotta start like closing up shop. And it's just him and Sammy in the bathtub, and you just hear them, and it's just like this terrifying chorus of like screams and whatever. And he's just like in the bathtub with his gun, eyes wide open. And it's like, I don't know how you'd ever sleep ever, dude. I couldn't do it. I wouldn't make it. But yeah, he's just like absolutely like can't do it. And then, you know, you get one of those days when they're on their run. They find a deer. They're trying to take it down. Sammy, again, or I'm just gonna call her Sammy. Sammy, you know, a dog, runs into a dark building, and he's like, no. He's like, fuck. Like he doesn't even want to go in there. And he goes in there, and he hears one scream, and you get this terrifying moment where he's just like so frightened that you can see that he just wants to like his body's like, we gotta go, and he has to like talk to himself. He's like, no, my dog's here, I have to stay. And he like has to push through this fear. Again, this is a man that seems like he has everything put together, and he hears one infected and he's like ready to dip. I mean, this would be like the leader of the group, you know what I'm saying, the Rick Grimes, and he's ready to go. So as he continues through the building, right, and then you get the moment where he only finds one. And he covers his flashlight really quick, and he's just like, he's looking away, and he's just, again, absolutely terrified of these things. It makes the weight of being in this city and constantly being like, I gotta protect myself from these things, so real, where again, this unimaginable character with all these super skills to survive the apocalypse is scared of one infected person. So when he finds the whole group, it's just like, oh shit, like what am I supposed to do now? And again, I think that adds to the whole tension of the movie, which could have gone so bad, especially if it was made nowadays. It'd be like this whole like action whatever, and this guy wouldn't even care. It would just be played up for, action's sake or whatever. But this is like real. The fact that he's just like slowly stepping back and he accidentally steps on something and he's just like, oh, fuck, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, oh my god, how's he gonna get out of here? But he's able to make it out, right? Sammy's okay, everything's good. And for whatever reason, he's like, oh, let me capture one of these dudes, right? Or one of these infected people. So real quick, he has this lab in his basement, which is so like, it doesn't even make sense. But half the tests, some of the rats are still crazy. Half of them are dead. There's one, number 6, where that rat seems like it is back to normal. It's not infected anymore. And he's like, all right, I got to do the human trials. So he goes back to, that spot where he almost didn't make it, which is crazy to think about. Sets up this trap, steals one of the infected, make sure they don't burn in the sunlight, which is why he's like, stays in at night. And then you see, and this is where the movie kicks off, that one infected that hops out, runs straight into the sun, and then is like, you can see it wants to come out, but it can't because it'll get burned. And Will Smith's character Robert is just like this. He does these vlogs, right? And he's like, yeah, so one of these infected ran out into the light. I guess they're running low on food and it was like desperate to come out. He's like, I don't know, they can't really communicate or whatever, so kind of seems like a weird move, but whatever. And it's like, dude, you're so stupid. Like, you can't see that there's like a reason for it to come out. But I mean, I imagine from his point of view, right, 3 years of fighting these things, you're probably like, why would he even come to a conclusion that these things could have some sort of communication, let alone like relationships and all that? And as the movie progresses, you see that like, even though the pieces are kind of coming together from you as a viewer, from his perspective, it makes sense why he wouldn't put the pieces together, which we'll get into. But I do kind of wish that he would have noticed, like, hey, you keep running into the same infected. There has to be a reason that this same specific one is after you. But also, again, it makes sense why he would not think about that, right? And so we're gonna get into that. So Robert is out on his usual route. We see that earlier in the movie that he likes to go to kind of the DVD store. If you're young, you probably don't even know this. There used to be like Blockbuster, Hollywood Video type things where you go and you'd have to like rent a movie and then give it back to them, or else you get charged. It's very, very dinosaur times for you guys. But yeah, so he goes and he gets one movie every day, and he has mannequins set up, and he pretends like they're real people. I mean, he has no one else to talk to. There's one in the back where he's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna talk to her one day, chat her up. And it's kind of sad, but it's kind of like, I want to say nice, but it's like, it's interesting to have him have this way of like, I have to kind of keep myself sane in a way. So I set up these mannequins to pretend like there's some sort of like normalcy. But yeah, so he's on a route one day and he sees his man Fred and he loses his mind, obviously, because he's just like,
No! No! hell are you doing out here, Fred? How did you get out here? Fred, if you're real, you better tell me right now.
As far as he knows, he's the only human. So he's like, how the hell did this mannequin get over here? And he's like, if you're real, you better tell me, Fred. And, he blasts him. It's just a mannequin. But again, this is where, he goes to go check it out. And he's set up by his own trap. And clearly it's been done by the infected. But he doesn't know that. And he has time to think about that. Because when he's hit for their trap, he smacks his head on the ground. And when he wakes up hours later, Sammy's just down there barking. Nothing she can do to help, really. He cuts himself loose. But when he falls down, he accidentally stabs himself with his knife, right? And it's like, oh, shit. But when he wakes up, his watch is going off. We got tension, baby. It's time to go. But, of course, he can't run away because he's been stabbed by himself in the leg. And then you get this awesome moment of the same infected coming out holding 2 infected dogs, and he's like, go get them. Or I think there's 3. He's holding 2 of them, and then there's like a 3rd one. But anyways, they go to get them.
Let's go, Sam.
And then you just have this awesome moment of like Will Smith doing his best to like crawl away because again he's injured. Sammy, who's a dog, is just trying to bark. I would take those dogs on, and he's like, Sammy, come with me. Like this isn't the time. And then you just have the sun, and it's just like slowly going away as the dogs are like waiting, and they're like, come on, let me know. And then once the sun goes, it's just all out chaos, and Will Smith gets to his gun and he starts shooting some of them, but Sammy takes a couple bites, but all the dogs are dead. And again, this is a moment where Will Smith should have been like, oh, it's the same dude, but he doesn't have time for that because the dogs come out, he's injured, he's not in the right mindset, his dog's freaking out. There's no way for him to really be like, I gotta sit with the fact of like, this is the same thing because there's too much chaos going on. And so when everything settles, Sammy's been bit, things aren't looking good, goes back to the house, and he, again, number 6 serum was the one that worked. He tries it on Sammy, he's holding her, it is not, I already knew this was coming, but I was like, oh, this never gets any better. It's not working. She starts to breathe really fast. He checks her eyes are going all red. Checks her gums are getting all infected. She starts yapping at him, or not yapping, but she starts attacking him, and he immediately has to choke her out. And what was, again, visual storytelling is they don't show him actually choking out a dog, which is nice. It is just his face, which I think is even better because you just see the emotions on his face of like the hurt and the pain, but also like the struggle of like trying to choke out this dog. And when she's gone, he can't even look at her. He's looking to the side, and he just like lets go, and just like defeat and sadness and all the hope is just like gone, and the body just falls to the side, and it's just like heartbreaking. And also you have to remember that 3 years, and this is the only person, a dog, his daughter essentially, that he's ever had. And so I think that's why, it only gets worse, but like in a good storytelling way of where he's out on his routine the next day and he's just defeated. Like it is hard to look at him. And he goes to the video store and he goes up to that lady and he says, like, hey, and again, just a mannequin. And he's like, hey, I just want to say hi. I promised my friend that I would say hi to you. So, hey. And he's looking rough. And, it gets to him because he's like, please just say hi.
Please say hello to me. She said hello to me.
And he's just like breaking down because, again, the only person he had was Sam, and she's gone, and he had to do it too, and it's just like killing him. And now it's really setting in like the loneliness, and it is just rough. And I truly wish, and I don't know, maybe I'm soft, but I do wish that he had started to break down crying, because it is like, he's sad, but it feels like the moment where he would let go, it's like, no, he got to be a man. And so we get him being angry, and I think it works for the time, and he's a little more of an action hero type thing. But I do wish that even for like a split second, it would just be him just like breaking down and like crying into his hands. So that's something I would have added. But yeah, so all hope is lost. He's like, I'm dunsies. I'm gonna go on this suicide run and take out these infected. So he's in his car and he's ramming into them, and he's getting a couple of them, but it ain't looking too good. And again, same infected. And he's barking. There's a part where he barks over, and he's like, "Go!" and they like run. So like clearly this is their leader. And again, but Will Smith is full anger. He just lost his dog/daughter. Like, there's no reason for him to really wrap around the fact of like, this is the same infected again. So even though you want him to be like, dude, that's the same, like, dark seeker you keep running into, he's just not in the headspace, and you get it. Like, why would he be? And so he's just like out there doing his best to kill the few that he can. But he is about to die, and that's when, you get this blinding light, and, he gets saved by someone, and they're in the car, and she's like, where do you live? Like, tell me, please, we're gonna die out here. And they are able to make it back to his house. When, he wakes up, he's stitched up. But again, he was like barely conscious when all this is happening. So again, this is something they thought about and they put into place, and it all makes logical sense. This is why I like this movie. He hears someone in the kitchen. He's freaking out. And so he grabs his gun and he goes into the kitchen. You get this second clip where he sees his family, his real family, that died a long time ago. And then he kind of like shakes off, and it is Anna and Ethan. And she's like, hey, I made, like, don't shoot. We made breakfast. We got eggs and bacon. Hope you don't mind. And he puts the gun down, and he's like, hey, my bad. And they're eating, and she's like, yeah, you've been sending out, and we saw it earlier in the movie, he was sending out a broadcast, and it was like, every day at noon, meet me here. I got food, shelter, protection. And she's like, I went there that day, and, you weren't there, of course, because he's like losing his mind. He just had to kill his dog. And she just happened to check again, and she was able to save him. And she's like, yeah, so, I heard your broadcast. I wanted to tell you that, like, we're going to head over to Vermont. There is a sanctuary with a bunch of people. Apparently the cold doesn't help the infected aren't good against the cold. I got there. And so we're going to head over there. And Will Smith freaks the fuck out. He like throws the plate and everything. He's like, there are no like people. Like, everyone's dead. Everyone is dead. And they're like, whoa, like, chill out. I think she pulls out a gun. She's like, listen, man, I'm saying, I've been out here. I'm about that life too. And he's just like, he just needs a moment to calm down.
The virus couldn't survive the cold. There's hope.
Everybody's dead. Everybody is dead. I need a minute.
And it's great because, remember, he hasn't been around people in 3 years. So for some random lady to like come out of nowhere and be like, yeah, there's a place we can go right now with other people that exist. And I have to imagine, like, I'm not a psychologist, but there has to be some sort of thing that's also like crashing against his ideas, his ideals of the fact of like, don't give me hope. You know what I mean? Like, I can't, like, you know, the idea of there being other people and there being some sort of hope out there, like, scares him so much that he just went into, like, fight or flight mode. And I love that he's just like, I'm sorry. I just need, you know, a moment. I'm just going to go upstairs and, like, lay down. I just need to, like, soak all of this in. Tension continues after the scene. He goes downstairs, right? And Ethan is watching Shrek. Anna's in the kitchen, and you know, she's kind of looking at him, and you can see that he's nervous, and he's like, I need to calm the situation down, but I don't know how to do that. And so he just starts quoting Shrek as the movie's happening, and he's saying the lines. And there's this great moment where you see Ethan, and he's like looking at him. He's like, okay, but he's also kind of looking like back and forth from like his mom to him, and he's just like, it's just this weird scene of like, I don't know how to bring the tension down, so I'm just gonna try to like do a joke, and hopefully everything will kind of chill out, and it kind of works. And it's like, all right, cool. I like that. You know, this isn't like an instant resolve. I feel like there's so much media nowadays is like won't let you sit with anything. It's just like, we got to move on to the next scene, so let's just get there. It doesn't matter if it makes sense or not. And this is just like, how do we move this scene along but make it feel real? And so we get to, this is the part where I kind of forget what's happening, but I think we move on to the lab, and he's down there working, and there's something they say where he's like, oh, I need ice, and so they go get ice, and it turns out the infected that he has is like actually like turning back to human. It's like actually working as long as you cool the body down first. And she's like, oh cool, this is great, like you know, this is all gonna work out. And so they go back upstairs. Ethan is asleep. They put him to bed upstairs. They come back down. The two of them are talking, Robert and Anna, and she's like, you know, I feel like this is all God's plan or whatever. And he just isn't about it. And this is one of those things of like, I'm personally not religious. I have a lot of problems with religion, but I can get why she might be like, a lot of things are like, you know, you really think this is a coincidence? I happen to find you right when you're about to kill yourself, and I happen to say like the ice thing that helped you find the cure. Like, you know what I mean? But I also get it more from his perspective of like, he's like, you know, these X million people that were on the earth, X million people died from this virus. The other ones turned into dark seekers. X amount of us are immune. And, you know, they ran out of food and they started eating people. He's like, there's no God. Like, what's the line? He's like, everyone's dead. Dead.
Every single person that you or I has ever known is dead. Dead.
Or something like that. But I just love the emotion and the, you know, the pain that he's been through, and it's just coming out through the lines. This movie's so great. A lot of things are definitely like planned out, right? So as we're heading into the end of the movie, yeah, the infected attack, right? Oh, they found the house. They must have followed us. And you get the first wave, and of course, Homeboy's there again. The same dark seeker, head man. He sends out the first wave. He's taking out like the UV lights, so Robert has to go to his second plan, which is he set up bombs around all the cars in the neighborhood. And again, this is another thing, a small thing, but it just works for the movie, where he blows them up. But it's so real because he takes cover, he blows them up. You see the house jump just from the explosion of all the cars. You know, there's fire everywhere. His ears are ringing. He's like screaming out for Anna and Ethan just to see if they're okay. But again, it's just, you know, his ears are ringing. There's like a realism to the explosion. It's not just explosions for funsies. This is real. And he happens to make it upstairs, or he might have killed one before, but he makes it upstairs anyways. And you know, they are hiding underneath like a dresser or something like that. and you can see one of the infected up top, and they're like making a hole in the ceiling that way like more can like come in. And Will Smith like runs in, grabs a gun, boom boom boom, takes it out, and it's like, all right, cool, everyone's okay, let's let's chill out, hopefully that is good. No, but they don't have a moment to breathe, because they hear them, they look outside, second wave's already coming in again. Homeboy's there, and he's like, go get him. So they make it down to the lab, and they go behind the glass wall, and this is where things get a little different. Okay, so if you haven't seen this movie, or you haven't watched it in a long time, or if you just didn't know that apparently they're supposed to be doing, I think they're supposed to be doing a sequel. I don't know if that's ever going to come to light, but the original ending, right, is that the infected are in the lab, they're breaking through the glass. Will Smith is like, all right, we're cooked. Like, I have this little like safe looking, I forget what it's called, but he has this little like hole that they can go in, and he's like, okay, he puts her and Anna and Ethan in there. He takes some of the blood from the infected lady that was cured, gives it to her. He's go find a sanctuary, give it to them, closes the door, grabs a grenade, goes out, boom, blows up all the infected in the lab. That was the original ending if you watched it like in the movie theater. Now, there was an alternate ending, which I've always liked more ever since I found out it was real. And apparently this is the one that they're going for so that they can have the sequel. And I think if you like rent it on streaming, this is now the canonical ending. So if you haven't seen this, their second ending, I guess now real ending, depending on how you want to see it, is that, again, they're breaking through the glass. All hope seems lost. Right as they're about to get to like the last hit, and again, it's like the main Darkseeker. He puts his hand against the glass, makes a little symbol of a butterfly. Now, Will Smith noticed that when he first captured an infected lady, she has a tattoo of a butterfly. And so when he sees that, he like lifts her up and looks at it again. He goes, oh, the butterfly. Oh, this is your girlfriend. Like, this is your mate. I fucked up. Well, he doesn't say it. You can just see it on his face of like, everything is connecting together. Again, visual storytelling. You don't need to tell everything all the time. And so he goes, Anna, open the door. And she's like, what? And he's like, just trust me and open the door. And for whatever reason, she decides to go along with it. She opens up the door. You see Ethan in the corner. He's just like, oh, no, this is it. Opens up the door. Will Smith wheels out the infected lady. And again, there's just tension of like, he's like, hey, I need to get a syringe so I can wake her up. He like unplugs her from the cure. He goes to like grab it, and the other ones are like in his face and they're about to attack. And the main one's like, hey, and they're like, okay, we're just testing him a little bit. Will Smith, you imagine, gets adrenaline, goes and he wakes her up, and the two of them are like, oh my god, baby, like they hurt, like they captured me, and he's like, I got you, baby girl, don't worry. And so he picks her up, and you can see he's just like relieved to like finally have his girl back, and he's like mad at Will Smith, but he's like, all right, let's get out of here, everybody. And so they dip out, and the movie ends with Will Smith and Anna and Ethan, driving off, and they're like, all right, this is it. Like, we're off into, the next chapter or whatever. And so that's now the canonical ending, which, again, I've always liked better because I was just like, the reason I didn't like the original ending was because, I'm watching it in the theater being like, hey, you clearly took this dude's girl, and clearly like these things are, smart enough to like make a connection with each other, whether it was pre-virus or post-virus. And the fact that like the infected dude kept coming back, and it was specifically that dude that was like, I was like, hey, well, we're missing out on like the fact that, there's some sort of like, cognizance with these things that they're not just like mindless zombies. So for Will Smith to just blow himself up, and then for Anna and Ethan to be like, we got the cure now. I'm like, wait, we're skipping a storyline where I felt with, with the second ending, which might be the real ending now, of him being like, yo, give me my girl back. It was just like, oh, this is way better if Will Smith to realize, hey, I'm kind of in the wrong here, and there's clearly something I'm missing. And I feel like that was something they could have explored more if they were to ever do a sequel. Granted, I don't know if we're ever going to get a sequel, but yeah, I always felt like that was like a missing part. So I'm glad that the second ending is now the canonical ending, whether we'll get more or not. So let me know if you've seen this movie recently, if you remember anything that really stuck out to you. I do recommend, if you haven't seen this, if you still watch this movie and you haven't seen this movie, you should go check it out. I promise you, you're gonna have a good time. Especially if you watch it in the dark. I'm glad that I rewatched this movie. This is probably I'll put it in my top 20. I don't know if I'm gonna make my top 10. I'd have to remake a list. But yeah, I just definitely one of them. Like if I was not trapped somewhere, but I was like on a spaceship and I like had a collection of movies and I was like, what do you want? This is definitely like something I'd put on my list. But yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. Don't forget to subscribe. Peace.